Previously on What Do You Know with Nick and Devin. What do you know about Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh, shit.
There's a lot of Daves. It's the Midwest.
The witch is ODing. The witch is ODing.
But like, they were demons with their tits out.
You know what I love? More than anything.
Yeah.
Just a couple of demons with their tits out.
And welcome back to What Do You Know with Nick and Devin. I'm Devin.
And I'm Nick.
And today we have part 2 of our What Do You Know About Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Duh. Perfect.
So if you need to, if this is your first episode, boy, you've skipped a lot. But specifically for this, normally you don't have to like listen to this in chronological order at all. You can just shuffle this bitch. But
And I hope when you hit the shuffle button, that is what you say.
yeah,
Let's shuffle this bitch. Perfect.
But for this episode, you'll need to go back one episode prior to see the part 1 of What Do You Know About D&D.
We'll wait.
Yep, go ahead. I'll wait the 50 minutes.
Just hold it out.
Yeah, just really stretch it out.
Right.
But for those of you who don't have any patience, I'm still, or don't recall every detail of the episode, I am going to give you a brief recap.
So kind of you,
what
Devin.
happened. I am nothing but generous and kind.
A giver, they say. The giver.
That's what my middle name stands for. Devin Giver.
Devin Giver. Perfect.
All right, so what is Dungeons and Dragons? Brief recap. Fantasy tabletop role-playing game, TTRPG, that usually focuses on storytelling, created by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson in 1974. Players controls the actions of one hero, including managing equipment, spells, choosing a race, class, etc. The Dungeon Master acts as a guide through the story and kind of a rule referee. We are currently on the 5th edition, which was originally released in 2014. And you and the other players, this is kind of the basis of the game. You and the other players go on an adventure with the characters you've created to solve mysteries, fight enemies from common bandits to 5 massive dragons, discover treasures, etc. That's D&D in a nutshell.
Yeah, baby.
Now let's crack this nut up.
No, we're not going to do that.
Now let's crack this nut open.
I don't like that.
Right.
Anything involving cracking a nut, I just feel like we're okay. Thank you. Thank you. Also, anytime you say we're going on an adventure, all I think of is we're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship. Do you remember that? No?
No, what is that from?
Soaring through the sky, little
You singing
Einsteins.
more of it isn't going to
It's
help.
Little
me.
Einsteins. My sister watched it a lot when she was little.
I didn't.
You know participation in Little... You don't remember that?
No, I didn't watch Little Einsteins.
Well, no, but like it's just like colloquially known. What about the Backyardigans?
No.
The Backyardigans.
I was the youngest in my family and my cousins.
My point should be proven. I mean, I didn't really watch. Okay.
There you go. Did you watch those?
Little
If your
Einsteins?
sister
No.
wasn't around, would you have been watching those at the
No.
time? Then there you go.
Yeah. But still, nothing? You've never heard that song?
No.
Oh, okay. You're missing out.
I'll
Not on the show, just the song.
add it to my to listen list.
Thank you. To your daily playlist. Thank you.
All right, so this episode
Uh-huh.
is going to be about how to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh, and have a character. I'm so
You
excited.
do have a character.
Yes.
And so last episode we talked about where it came from, the history of the game, and now we're going to get into how to play it.
Yes.
And where to begin.
Yikes.
So, where to begin is my bullet on my notes.
And how fitting it's at the beginning of the episode.
You know, it's like playing these things out. All right, so to play, you just need a few things.
Okay.
People, rule books, dice, character sheets, and optional are miniatures and game boards.
Got it.
Break it down a little bit. So, for the people, you need a minimum of at least 2 people.
Okay.
3 to 5 people has been listed as like the ideal group to sit around your table to play.
Okay.
That way your turns don't drag out. It's a little bit more organized chaos. There are sources out there for playing with just one person or only 1 to 2 player campaigns.
Oh.
Nothing official, but you can read it up online. The rule books, you have the 3 rule books, like we discussed in the previous episode. You have the player's handbook, the DM's guide, and the monster manual.
Monster Mash. Got it.
Mm-hmm. And you need some dice. This game heavily relies on dice rolling.
And a lot of dice, I feel like.
A lot of dice. You'll have a 4-sided, 6, 8, 10, 12, and a 20-sided die, respectively called the D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, D20.
That makes so much sense. Every time I saw that, I was just like, what the fuck is a D8?
It's an 8-sided die.
Yeah, no, that makes sense now.
There you go.
Can't say that as if like, oh, it's an 8-sided die. Like, don't you know an 8-sided die? Like, that's...
No, I understand that, and that's partially why I'm going through all these things. But it's also very interesting from my perspective, having played since I was a child, and seeing you like learn these things for the first time is fun.
It's fun. It's eye opening.
Eye opening, new perspective.
Die opening. Sorry. I'm so sorry, everyone. That's my bad.
Boo. There's also an optional die. There's a percentile dice.
Okay.
Which is just kind of like a modded D10. It's another 10-sided die. It'll have like 10, 20, 30 instead of 1, 2, 3 up until 100.
Okay.
So you can roll that to get your percentage.
Do you roll all the dice at once?
Typically, no. I mean, okay. I'm not going to stop you. You can just for fun, but in game, no. Okay.
just a lot to hold. You know what I mean?
There are times where you will be using multiple dice, like different dice in one roll, or multiple D6s in one roll and stuff like that. But never like all of the D4 through 20 at once. That's
got it.
Rare.
Got it.
Your character sheets. These are the papers that you keep next to you to keep track of your player stats and equipment. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of important so you know what you can do in the game. And then, like I said, optional will be miniatures and game boards. Why are these optional? Miniatures would be little figures to represent your character or monsters. Game boards would be a map, either one that has details or a dry erase board or whatever, to help you visualize where trees are, where your character is, where the monster is, etc. So these are optional because there are typically two ways of playing the game. There's theater of mind and maps and minis. Maps and minis are what I just described, having your figures, your minis, and then the maps. And then theater of the mind is just using your imagination. You don't have anything on the table except your dice and your player sheet, and you just kind of have a much more you're relying more on your imagination to figure out where you are in the world.
Which one do you like more?
If I'm playing in person, I like theater of mind because it's a little bit easier. But if I'm playing online, like through Discord or whatever, using a visualizer, a map and minis is nice.
I feel like I prefer map and mini because I don't like that everyone has a different perspective of what's happening. I feel like you probably communicate that in some way.
Yeah, the DM will hopefully be able to describe where everything is and keep track of everything a little bit better.
Yeah. I just think of the episode of Community when they played Dungeons & Dragons. They're just kind of like shouting about the things. And I just feel like a map and a mini just kind of like keep structure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I like it online because it's easier to be distracted or like there's that delay.
Yeah.
So it's easier to keep everyone centered down with a map. But in person, it's a little bit easier to be like, okay, this is where we're all at. Or like, if we need to, I can grab like a thimble from my Monopoly set and put that on the table and be like, okay, this is where we're at very quickly.
Sure. Okay. Do you ever like get up and move around, or is it truly just like sitting around a tabletop? Does it ever get like energetic?
I mean, things can get crazy. Yeah.
You ever flip the table?
No. Oh. I'm not a monster.
Fair.
So that's theater of mind versus maps and minis. Again, it's very personal preference. To each his own. Now, there are virtual resources, very nice resources out there for you to either read up on the game or play the game itself.
Yeah.
One of the more common ones, of course, that is owned by Wizards of the Coast will be D&D Beyond. And that one is a great resource for creating characters, looking up rules, and it has all of the resources there for you to search. Sometimes they're behind a paywall, but it's all there for you. And you are able to, with D&D Beyond, roll virtual dice as well.
Okay. Nice.
Then there's another one called Roll20. This one's a really cool one. It is kind of an all-in-one source for you. You can create your character. You can look at all the rules and stuff like that, just like D&D Beyond. But you can also play virtual games through Roll20. So you can host, build maps, have minis, meet up with other people to play games with. And they also have resources for a bunch of other different games to play virtually. I don't know if that's a new feature. I've only known them to be able to play D&D, but
Sure.
Doing a little bit more digging into their website for this episode, I realized that they had a bunch of other RPGs to play out beyond D&D.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, it would expand.
Yeah. Again, some of their features are for subscription only. Okay. Just to put it out there for everybody.
Y'all. And that discount code is...
Yeah, I wish. There's this program called Foundry that is hosting for a virtual tabletop, so that way you can have your game map out. There's this other program called Dungeon Draft, which your DM could create maps with to host on a virtual tabletop.
Okay.
And there's a bunch more tools out there online. Some will be free. Some will be a little bit like a one-time payment, subscription-based. They're all out there. It's just a little bit of digging for you. But those are the ones that I have typically used.
Now, virtually, have you ever just watched people play D&D? Like, is that something people do? Or is it mainly...
No, it's a huge thing, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I go into it a little bit later.
Okay.
But, like, watching D&D is... They're very popular shows about it. There's like a whole category on Twitch for it.
Interesting.
Yeah. We have everything that we need to play.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
Rockin'.
Now what?
Truly.
Now you create your character.
Hey.
So you can use the player's handbook to go through the rules and guidelines of creating a character. D&D Beyond, as well as Roll20, have a great resource to help first-timers create their own character as well. And from there, your Dungeon Master, your Game Master, your DM is going to create and set the world for the beginning of the story. And they're gonna build this whole world for you, or use a module that has been pre-written from Wizards of the Coast or some other person.
Okay. So you can go... Do you have to stay within script, or can like your DM just kind of create its own sort of basis and storyline?
Yeah, absolutely. So your DM can... it's what the people call a homebrew campaign.
Okay.
And so they will create their own story. They can either set it within the already established universe or create their own.
Okay.
And they can either follow along with a pre-written story called a module, or create their own whole campaign and their own story.
That's cool. Have you ever done that? Like make your own?
I have.
How was that?
I mean, it's fun. It's a little bit more chaotic because like you kind of have to like think more on your feet of all of these different possibilities. Sure. The modules that are pre-written are a little railroady.
Okay.
Where they'll kind of keep you on a specific path eventually.
Sure.
You can take many ways to get there, but your goal is there. You have one main goal. With homebrew campaigns, while it might be the DM's initial intent to be like, all right, this is our goal, your players could be random and be like, nah, we're going to go do this. And it's like, okay, I'm going to scrap this, save it for later, and try to create on the fly a whole new story for you guys.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Sorry. So your DM has the story set up, and now you get your dice warmed up and step into your imagination.
Like when you say dice warmed up, like you put them in a little toaster.
Yeah, and just roll
Give them
them
a
in
little
toasty.
toasty.
But hey, you might be asking Devin, what the hell am I rolling these dice for?
That's what I said.
I heard you. So you're rolling these dice because a situation might call for a skill check. So you roll these dice to determine the outcome of your action. So a skill check, when you roll it, it's kind of determining how well you perform your desired action.
Okay.
So like if you wanted to steal a gem from a merchant, the DM would have you roll either a stealth or sleight of hand check.
Okay.
And you would roll your d20, your 20-sided die. And depending on how high that number is, will determine on how well you are able to steal the gem from the merchant.
Okay. Got it.
So the DM will have a predetermined number that your roll needs to beat, and that number is called a difficulty check, or a DC.
Okay.
So if your dice, when you roll it, and you add your modifier, and you beat the DC, then your action was successful.
Got it. So it's an over-under.
Essentially,
Got
yeah.
it.
And there's like a scale that some DMs use to be like, okay, so like if you are like a 1 to 5, then like you really failed. But like if you got like 25 or higher, then like you were really good at this.
Oh.
But that also brings into these unofficial but common rules, which are a nat 20 and a nat 1.
Okay.
So when you take your d20 and you roll it and you roll a 20, flat 20, that is called a nat 20 or critical success.
Okay.
So it's such like you have such a rare chance of rolling a straight 20
Sure.
that you typically will have an automatic success or an exceptionally good result. These aren't in the official rule books, but almost every table will play with that rule.
Okay, got it.
The opposite of that is a nat 1 or a critical failure. So if you roll a 1 on it, that means like automatic failure, doesn't matter what happens, like what your modifiers are.
You just die. You're just done.
Whatever you were trying to do fails, or something terrible could happen from that event.
Got it. Okay.
Now I keep throwing around this word modifiers around. And what's that?
I don't know. Tell us, Devin.
I sure will. So when you create a character, you assign points for your ability scores. So that includes your strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. These scores that you have put in there will affect your skills and how good you are at doing something. So like a high charisma ability score will allow you better persuasion attempts. So it'll add a higher modifier to your persuasion attempt.
Got it.
Make sense?
Yes.
Cool. And what else are we rolling our dice for? Well, combat, of course. So let's roll for initiative.
For initiative?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Combat is a much more structured part of the game than your free roaming adventuring. At the start of combat, everyone involved in the fight is going to be rolling a d20 to determine the turn order. So you're rolling for initiative to see who will be going first.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
And within combat, each participant will have an action and movement during their turn. So your actions can either be an attack with a weapon or spell, dashing to gain extra movement, or interacting with an object in your nearby area.
Got it.
Your movement, most folks will have about 30 feet of movement. So you'll be able to move that amount to either get closer or move away from an enemy, get to an object before someone else, that kind of thing. And like I said, if you dash, you get to move your movement speed twice.
Okay. So if I want to like somersault and then stab someone, is that a movement and a attack?
Yes. Because you'd be moving towards someone, and I would have you roll an acrobatics check to see how well you somersault first. And if you fail your somersault, then I would probably have you roll your attack roll with the disadvantage.
What if my somersault just like totally fucking eats it, but then I'm still able to like stab him?
I'd be very impressed.
See, it could happen.
Yeah, well, because then the DM or the player, depending on how the table is being ran, could describe your attack, being like, all right, I'm going to I somersault towards him to avoid his attack, and there's I don't catch my footing appropriately, so I slip a little bit, but I regain my balance at just the right time to stab up under his ribcage.
Yeah.
Doing X damage.
That's what I said. I feel like my character would have just a lot of overconfidence.
That's great. That's fun. It's a fun little quirk.
Right.
And so if you're unsure of what to do in that moment for taking your action, players can take either the dodge or ready action. So the dodge action makes any attack roll against you, the player, have disadvantage, and any dexterity saving throws have advantage. Okay. I'll get into advantage and disadvantage in a moment.
Okay.
Your ready action preps an action when a certain criteria is met. So, for example, if this is straight out of the rules book, if the cultist steps on the trapdoor, I will pull the lever that opens it.
Okay.
So, like, if during the cult, yeah,
okay,
essentially. So this will use up your reaction as well into your next turn. All right, so let's get into the fun part: attacking.
Haha.
So with attacking, this will also count as an action, but attacking weapons and spells will have their own range, which is listed.
Sure.
So like obviously your longbow or your fireball spell will have a much longer range than using a greatsword.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yes.
So attack, you roll a d20 and then add your attack modifier.
Okay.
And that's different per character. And you check that final number against your opponent's armor class, or your AC. So the AC is affected by your dexterity bonus and any armor being worn, including a shield.
Okay.
And if the number is less than your opponent's AC, you miss. Quote unquote miss.
Okay.
The DM or player might describe it with a little bit of flavor, like, oh, they deflected your blow with their shield, or like they sidestepped it and are now going to attack you, kind of thing.
So your DM has to have like kind of a theatrical flair.
Yes.
To make it like more fun and
absolutely
intriguing.
This game This game heavily relies on improvisation.
Totally. Okay.
Yeah. So like even just like reading and watching fantasy books kind of helps, but having some type of improv training also will definitely help. But it is 100% not necessary.
Do you prefer to be a DM or a participant?
I mean, being a participant is way less stressful.
Sure. You're not orchestrating an entire game and world.
Right. And both are very fun in their own ways. Some people get trapped in being what's known as a forever DM. They are just always like the known DM. Like, yeah,
so
sure. Exactly. Usually if they're really good, people will want to play with them all the time. If the number is greater than the opponent's AC, you hit.
Sure.
Again, you can add flavor as you want, but once you hit, you're going to roll for damage, and that is a specific roll for each weapon and spell. So it might be with your greatsword, I'm going to roll a d6 plus 3 or whatever.
Okay.
It's all on your character sheet.
Got it.
Which is why those are important.
Aha.
Now, going back to rolling your nat 20s and nat 1s, those also apply to your attack rolls.
Oh, okay.
So if when you're rolling your d20 to see if you hit, if you roll a nat 20, it counts as a critical hit. So this automatically hits regardless of modifiers or AC that your opponent has. And when you roll for damage, you roll all of your damage dice twice, add them together, then add any relevant modifiers.
Okay.
So it's a big hit. It's supposed to be really cool and like add as much flavor as you want. It's a phenomenal thing to happen.
That's awesome.
On the opposite side, you can roll a nat 1. This automatically fails. You miss your hit. Nothing like super bad technically is supposed to happen after that besides you just looking like a fool. And that'll probably be the flavor added. Yeah, like you twirl around and miss and you stumble, kind of thing. Depending on your DM, you might roll like a mishap table or something like that.
Okay.
So that's attacking. Going on to defending for yourself, when attacks are made against your armor class. So you also have your own armor class that if an opponent is trying to strike you, they have to beat that number.
Sure.
If you're hit, you take damage, of course. And then certain attacks, like spells or certain weapons, will call for you to have a saving throw that uses your ability scores. Just another die roll for you.
Got it. Can you die in an attack?
Fun fact, that's my next. So I'm going to talk a little bit about hit points.
Okay.
Cool. So we're going to talk about hit points now, just because you might have taken damage at this point.
I'm injured.
Exactly. So you can be healed during combat using spells or potions.
Okay.
Also out of combat, you can be healed. But dropping to 0 HP, hit points, HP, causes you to fall unconscious.
Oh, okay.
So you fall prone to the ground. You can't move. You can no longer move, take any action until you regain at least 1 HP.
Okay.
So once you're down to that 0 and it comes back to a round of your turn, you have to start making death saving throws.
Oh. Just like any attempt to
stabilize yourself, essentially, and walk away from the light. So without any modifiers, it's just a straight luck check of rolling a d20. And if you roll a 10 or higher, it's a success. And obviously 10 or lower, 9 or lower, I guess, rather, is a failure. And so with 3 successes, you become stable. You'll still have 0 HP and unconscious, but you're just not like actively dying.
Positives.
Right. With 3 failures, however, you're dead. Ooh. You die. Your character's done. You rip up that character sheet and it's gone.
But like in a fantasy world, I can't like become a ghost.
Maybe it's up to your DM, but like that character sheet's done. Yeah.
Damn.
And if you are attacked while you have 0 HP, it'll count as a failure as well.
Oh, so someone could be like, I'm going to kick you while you're down.
Yeah. But that also brings us into instant death.
I can just kill you immediately.
Pretty much. So if an attack reduces you down to 0 HP, and there's damage to be done left over beyond that. If that damage is equal or greater to your max HP, you die instantly. So say you have a total of 9 hit points. You're down to like 3 hit points, and someone hits you for 12 hit points.
You're dead.
You're dead because it reduced you down to 3. You're from 3 to 0, and then it still had 9 left over, which was your max HP.
Dead.
Death.
Got it. Now here's a question: are we, when you were attacking?
Yeah.
Is everyone around the table, all the participants, working together, or am I attacking other participants at the table?
Ideally, it's a team event.
Got it.
There can be like campaigns and events where it's like, we're doing like a gladiator match one-off. But most of the time, 99.9% of the time, it's a team game to try to achieve this one goal.
So whoever you're attacking, that attacker, that enemy is being controlled by, air quotes, by the dungeon master.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. So that's instant death. And that too can happen while you're unconscious. So like, again, if you are attacked while you're unconscious and that attack hits greater than your total HP, you're dead. Donezo.
Got it.
There are very powerful spells out there that take quite up quite a lot of power to be able to bring someone back from the dead. But it is very rare.
Lazarus style.
Yeah, there's a wish spell out there. Again, very powerful, very rare to come across, whatnot.
Got it.
So the fun thing, though, about combat, and something that takes a while for new players to wrap their head around a little, is that each round of combat only takes 6 seconds of in-game time.
Okay.
So each action described in a round of combat pretty much takes place at the same time. So a round of combat is going around the whole table.
Got it.
Of everyone saying what they're going to be doing. So even though out in the real world, while you and I are sitting around the table, a round of combat could take like 10 minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes maybe.
Sure.
In game, all of that happens just within 6 seconds.
That makes sense. Because like you're just saying what your character is going to... Everyone's going to say what their character is going to do, but in the world, quote unquote, it would just automatically happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. We're not just like, okay, I'm going to slash, and then I'm going to stand still and wait for it.
It's like a video game where your player's just kind of bobbing and waiting for the next person.
Exactly. Exactly. So 10 rounds of combat will equal up to 1 minute of time.
Dang.
Yeah, so that's important for some spells and abilities.
Yeah.
But again, depending on it depends on each character.
So you could... Okay, so a whole battle could take like an hour or so in real time.
Right.
But really it's like a minute or two.
Yeah, in game time. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Very.
Bananas. Okay.
Yeah. So that's combat. Again, probably the most structured part of the game. And then there's adventuring. And this is when you're not in combat. The game becomes very open. So adventurers are free to explore wherever they please. This includes talking with NPCs, non-playable characters, people that are controlled by the DM, taking rests to restore hit points and abilities, exploring caves, dungeons, etc. You know, classic adventure stuff.
You know.
Typically, this is where the DM will drop a plot hook and plot points to guide the players along, but it's ultimately, like I said before, up to the players on what actions they take and how they want to advance the story.
Now, are you allowed to discuss strategy, or do you have to do that through saying, I'm doing this next? Like, can we, like if we're playing, and I say, I want to go into the magical forest, and then you don't want to do that because you want to do something else. Can we discuss that? Or do you have to be like, I say, I'm going to magical forest, and you're like, I'm going to go to the tavern. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, there is a fine line called metagaming.
Okay.
And it's more of a gray area than a fine line, I'd say.
Okay.
Because you can discuss those things in character.
Sure.
Being like, no, we need to go on this quest right now. Like, the princess is going to die. Like, we don't have time to go in the tavern for a drink or whatever. And like have that argument in character.
Okay.
Or you can say, this is where the metagaming kind of comes in, where you're discussing attributes. You're kind of breaking the wall is what metagaming is.
Sure.
And bringing in real life things of your game stats. Of like, I have this many hit points left. We can't go into the magical forest until we go to the tavern and rest.
Sure.
Like saying that is a little bit is called metagaming.
Got it.
But if you say in character, like, I'm not doing well. I need to take a break. Let's go to the tavern and rest. That's what people are more so looking for.
Got it.
But each DM is a little bit more flexible of how much metagaming can happen at the table.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably no reason that you couldn't discuss things like that in character. Just a matter of spin.
Right. Because like it's also like how would my character know like how many potions your person has unless I ask you.
Yeah.
Or say you had an interaction, your character had an interaction with the tavern owner, but I was outside tending to the horses. But like me, Devin, the human, sitting at the table, heard you have that conversation with the tavern owner, with the DM, but my character did not. So now Devin kind of has to not think about that information I heard unless your character tells my character what you talked about.
The jury will disregard that testimony.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
So there's that balance.
Got it.
So that's adventuring. Like there's the world is created by how much effort you want to put into the story. There's a lot of improv going on, and there's just, if you want to just get straight to the plot, then you can do that. Or if you want to explore more of the world, you can do that as well.
So when the dungeon master, like kind of going to the overarching, introduces the campaign. It's called the campaign, right?
Yeah.
Great. I was listening. Introduces the campaign. There is an end goal. Yeah. There is kind of like your goal is to defeat this monster or save the princess or whatever it is.
Right.
It's just a matter of deciding how long you want that to take.
Yeah. Okay. And there are varying lengths of campaigns out there. There are things called one-shots that can usually be done in one gaming session.
Okay.
Or there are longer campaigns that could last over a year.
Bananas.
Depending on how frequently you play.
Sure.
And each character coming into the campaign typically wants to think of their own plot hook of how they're going to be involved in this adventure.
Got it. Okay. Now, can you introduce characters like midway through?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If your table is open to having new players join mid-campaign, just roll them up a character, and then either the new player or the DM will figure out how to incorporate them.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all up to the table, though.
I feel like playing a campaign, I just want to get it done. Do you know what I mean? I'd be the person who's like, we have a quest, let's go on the quest. And someone else would be like, but let's go check out this village. I was like, it's not a part of what we're doing. Why are we checking out a village?
There's side quests.
It's not, we got to save someone. Like, we're on a time crunch. What are we doing?
Fair. But you might get some cool magical item.
We don't have time for magical items.
All right.
I'm just saying.
Noted.
So I'm gonna be really fun when we play Dungeons and Dragons.
Noted.
Yeah.
So my next section is just a couple tips for new players out there. Now that you know the general basic rules, very surface level of the rules of how to play, here are a couple tips for you now to play on your own. Mm-hmm. It's an ensemble cast. Share the space. Everyone at the table is a player. Everyone has their own story to tell. It's not the me show.
Got it. I would never do that.
Obviously, if it's just a 2-player game, then it's going to be a me show.
Right.
But if you have multiple people at the table, share the spotlight.
Is that fun? In the sense of thinking about if it's just you and me, and you're the dungeon master.
Yeah.
And then you're like, your quest is blah, blah, blah. And then I go out. I mean, I guess that could be fun. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
That actually kind of sounds preferable.
Yeah. I'm not too sure which is a better learning experience of playing with multiple people or playing one-on-one. I think it depends on the table.
Yeah. One-on-one feels like I've played Dungeons & Dragons before. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This can kind of move it along. With a group, it's fun to learn and understand different things and things like that. But I don't want to wait for little Timmy next to me to figure out his attack. Let's go, Timmy.
I think playing with a group, you get to learn how other people and players think.
Yeah.
So then you can adapt your own style to playing and learn different ways to play the game.
Like the value of patience.
Exactly.
Got it.
Which brings me to my next point. Take it slow.
I am on it with these transitions today. Yes.
So my next tip is to take it slow. You're just beginning to learn how to play a very expansive game. So don't be afraid to ask questions of your DM or fellow players. And don't feel pressured to do a voice for your character right away. Even just your character's way they interact with their environment will also come naturally throughout playing the game. And if you want, you can even just describe what your character does and then eventually move into playing into the first person if you want to.
Okay.
So instead of saying, you could start by saying like, oh, Solvol's going to go and talk to the tavern owner to find out information about the recent murder. And then eventually you can be like, I want to accuse the tavern owner of murdering his third wife. You see how that escalated?
How specific? I feel like I would want to just automatically start with like, I am my character. So I would say it in first person.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's definitely an okay place to start. Some people are a little bit more reserved in putting themselves in that, like in the shoes of their character. They can't visualize it right away.
As a former actor.
Yeah. I was going to say, you've had theater training, so it's a little bit easier for you to dive into a character than some folks.
Than others. Sure.
Yeah. And then when you're at a table with other people, create a welcoming and supporting space, especially for other new players. You're going to want to lift each other up. Again, I said it was an ensemble cast, so you want to build your fellow players up by sharing the spotlight, being like, okay, like that was a really cool thing, like that was awesome, way to go, like, oh, you solved the puzzle, like good job. Again, just be a good person, be friendly, you know.
So there's no like hazing involved.
No,
this is not Northwestern.
No.
Oh, sorry.
And then the other great thing that I would say too, I actually have two more tips. This second to last one is, I kind of mentioned before, would be to watch actual plays online.
Okay.
So actual plays are watching people play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
It's a great way to learn the rules, great way to see how other people think, how they play the game. The two probably most popular ones out there in the world are Critical Role and Dimension 20.
Okay.
And Critical Role, I think you can just watch them. I don't know if they put them all up on YouTube.
Okay.
But I know that they stream them on Twitch. Dimension 20, some of it's on YouTube, most of it's behind a paywall.
Got it. How many people are part of those sessions? Is it like always the same people?
No, Critical Role, well, they both have like their main campaigns that they do, and then they have kind of like offshoot campaigns just for more content and all that stuff. For Critical Role, it's 2, 4, 8 plus the DM.
Okay.
For Dimension 20, I'm not too sure. They change up how many people are playing a lot. I think it's 6 plus the DM off the top of my head.
So when are you going to be a guest on these?
We'll see how well this podcast does.
Anyone? Connections? Anyone?
But there's also one of my other favorite ones that I watch is Viva La Dirt League's D&D.
Okay.
They're a New Zealand sketch group that started doing their own D&D game.
That's fun.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
And then there's plenty of other smaller shows out there, including podcasts and YouTube shows.
Listening to it would be interesting.
Yeah, one of the ones that I really like to listen to that some of my friends have done actually, it's called The Pod Has Been Cast.
Okay.
You can listen to it on Spotify and anywhere else that you listen to.
Casually plugging.
Podcast. Just plugging it for my friends.
Yeah.
And they just finished their first campaign, so you can listen to it all through one go if you want.
Very cool.
Yeah. And again, like, it's just watching and listening to these games being played is a great way to learn the rules.
Yeah. Well, and like it feels very radio show in a way.
Oh yeah, it translates very well to a audio medium.
Sure,
because everyone's still talking anyway.
Yeah.
And the Viva La Dirt League folks, they're the people that you'll watch them play around a table, and then they'll cut to like a green screen skit of them acting out with their characters a funny bit in the game.
That's fun.
So it makes it a little bit more entertaining as a visual medium.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, Reddit, D&D Beyond, Roll20, and the D&D Discord are also great resources for you online for rules, finding games to play, and then general discussion of the game.
Nice.
Okay, so now you are ready to play Dungeons & Dragons.
Bwah, bwah, bwah.
Nick, you are ready to play Dungeons & Dragons. So first off, Nicholas...
Yes.
Let's introduce your character.
Yeah, baby.
Off screen created this character. If you're interested in learning how to create a character, let us know. DM us. I'll be happy to do a step-by-step video with you. Yeah. Otherwise, like I said, there are great online resources, YouTube videos, and D&D Beyond has a great step-by-step of creating a character for you.
Hell yeah.
So, Nick, let's dive into your character.
Yeah. So my character's name is Vwelin Oloferin. Win for short, because your boy always be winning.
Dumb joke, but I love it.
Every time. I am a druid 1. I don't think the number matters.
Level 1.
Level 1.
So that doesn't really matter that much.
Okay. I'm a high elf. Damn straight. Mm-hmm. I come from a criminal/spy background. Ooh, very mysterious. And I don't know what else to say. Do I talk about my background?
Yeah, if you want to drop some tidbits about your story that you can make up on the fly, go for it.
Orphaned as a wee babe.
Perfect.
Both my parents were killed by mercenaries.
Oh, yeah.
And I roamed the forest and learned to be a criminal and how to pickpocket and steal. And maybe I've killed. You'll never know. That's it. That's all I got.
That's amazing. That was perfect.
Thank you.
And this, just for everyone to know as well, this is your first time playing Dungeons and Dragons.
That is very true.
Yeah, this is your first character you've made, first backstory you've made up, which is beautiful.
I've ridiculed you for how many years?
Too many. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Open your mind eye. Wow. These are old woods. Towering trees reach higher than giants and block out most of the sun's warming rays, encapsulating your travels in an eerie and uncomfortable shadow. Gnarled branches reach out into the path, pulling you into the dark depths of the woods. No pleasant tunes from a songbird can be heard. Only the sounds of more sinister calls from creatures with malicious intent penetrate the thick forest. Once a well-traveled road, the path you are on has succumbed to the growing darkness that encloses around the Sword Coast.
Ooh.
A young dwarf joins your travels who goes by the name of Camrys Moltenpast.
Camrys?
I'm sorry, Cramrys.
Excuse me.
Cramrys Moltenpast. Like most dwarves, he is stout with a long, well-kept beard braided carefully with ornaments of his family's nobility. The dark hairs are matted down across his face as sweat runs across his brow, dripping off the tip of his bulbous nose. His breath becomes more labored as your journey to Baldur's Gate continues.
Baldur's Gate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The Sword Coast and Baldur's Gate are a very well and old established region.
Got it. Okay.
And city in Dungeons and Dragons.
Nice. Here we go. Cramrys.
You and your companion Cramrys are on the way back to the city. The poison is taking a toll on your dear friend as his breathing is becoming more labored. No potions or magic that you know of can rid this toxin out of Cramrys's body. Their only hope is the High Priest in Baldur's Gate.
Ooh.
The Coastway, a trail that divides the Cloakwood and the Wood of Sharp Teeth, has not been a safe route to travel of late, but it was the fastest option you knew of to get back to town.
That's us moving quickly.
Perfect. Slow down there, Win. I'm trying my best, but I don't think I can make it very far.
That was amazing. so sorry. I know that we were in character, but that was so good. That was awesome. Oh, my turn.
If you want to say anything, you don't have to say anything.
I almost did like a high-pitched voice. And that seems very...
Hi, Elf.
Yeah. Come on, Cameras. That doesn't work. Cameras, we can do it. Let's go.
I'll try. As you continue down walking the path, you get a sense of something off about your travel. We're going to have the first roll of this adventure. So take your D20. We're going to be rolling a perception check.
Okay.
So you're going to roll your D20. What do we got?
5. Yikes.
And then you're going to be adding your perception modifier. So that'll be under your skills box.
Which one's my skills box?
The one that has like acrobats, animal handling, etc.
Perception +4, so +9.
4, so 9.
I have a little P next to it too.
So that means you're proficient in it. So that gives you an extra boost.
Fucking good.
Yeah. So with your proficient, if you're proficient in a skill, you're not only adding your ability score modifier, but you're adding your proficiency bonus as well.
Oh, okay.
So with that roll of what did we say, 9? You're getting a sense of something not quite right. The hairs on your neck stand up, and you've noticed that the forest has gone quite quiet. Even though there weren't many beautiful songs being twiddled by birds, even the evil creatures of the woods have gone silent.
Grammars, do you feel that?
Something's not right. Quickly, we need to keep moving on. I fear something will maybe interrupt our travels. Great. As you round the bend in the road, a toppled over merchant's cart blocks her path. Oh, blazes. Grammars. A man is standing there trying to repair his cart.
Do you need some help, sir?
Help? Ah! Why, yes. These woods are dark. It's terrifying here. I'm just trying to get to Baldur's Gate. Any assistance would be lovely.
Grammars, let's help the man.
I don't know if I have the time for this. Please win.
You'll be fine. So that's a little out of character.
No, it's fine.
Can I try again? Can I try again?
No, it's what you said. Fine, you can try again.
Okay, thank you. Why don't you take a rest? I'll help the man.
All right. I'll catch my breath. So Grammars goes and puts a hand on a tree and leans, trying to catch his breath. The merchant eyes Grammars and looks back over to you and says, thank you for stopping on your adventure and helping me. So one thing, since you are new to this, is that I'm going to help you with here, is you can do something called an insight check.
Okay.
While before you did a perception check, that's kind of getting a lay of the land. An insight check is kind of like a vibe check. Like you want to check the vibe on someone or a situation, you roll an insight check. So why don't we roll an insight check?
It's a little too convenient.
It sure is.
Hanging out on the pathway here.
It absolutely is.
All right, what do I roll?
You roll a d20.
Okay.
So any skill check is going to be a d20. D20 is your best friend or your worst enemy, depending on how your dice are rolling. But it's going to be the one you use the most.
Got it. 17, baby.
And then you add your insight modifier.
+4, baby.
+4, so that's a 21.
Yeah, baby.
That's phenomenal.
I know exactly who this man is.
You, with that high of a roll, I'm going to say that you know that the vibe is absolutely off.
Totally.
They're, with a quick glance over the merchant cart, after you approached it to help this man, very nicely of you to help this person, you notice that there's nothing wrong with it. It's just toppled over. Like it should be a functioning cart. And with that high of a roll as well, I'm going to add that you notice that the person has a dagger slipped in their belt, like near their back.
Okay.
People carrying weapons isn't very uncommon, but someone hiding a weapon is not is uncommon.
Okay, can I say what I want to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I? Okay.
Ask your question or say what you want to do.
Yeah. So I want to help him flip the cart back.
Okay.
After the cart is back up, I sneakily grab his dagger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that will determine that. Great. Okay, so so let's first you both flip the cart very easily. It's empty. It's light. It was just meant to be a prop. And so with you flipping the cart and wanting to grab the dagger from him, I'm going to need you to roll a sleight of hand check.
Oh, okay. With the D20.
D20.
Okay. Oh, 4.
4. Okay.
Do I add anything to that?
Yeah, you have a sleight of hand modifier.
No. Yeah, it's +0.
+0.
So I fail.
You do fail.
Now he's on to me.
So you just kind of like you flip it over and you just kind of like fake describe how you tried to do it and I'll say how you failed.
Well, I'm standing next to him and we flip it over.
Yeah.
And then I reach back to his back.
Yeah.
To grab the dagger.
Okay.
And then if I fail, I go, "Oh, just want to make sure you're doing well, friend. Everything good here?"
He kind of noticed your intent of grabbing your dagger.
Okay.
And he's going to say, oh, wait, what was his voice? There it is. So I see that you didn't trust me, eh? Boys? And he lets out a sharp whistle, and out of the woods, 2 more bandits jump out to ambush you. This was the whole intent. To stop travelers, to ambush them, and rob their of them gold. So, we are going to roll for initiative and start combat.
Gramrus?
Oh, God, I'm getting too old for this. Even though he's a young dwarf.
What's his name from Die Hard?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're going to roll for initiative. And so you're going to roll your D20.
Okay.
And you're going to add your initiative, which should be the box next to your armor class, I believe. All right, so you rolled a...
So I rolled a 3, and my initiative is +0.
All right, so...
So a 3.
So you were a little thrown off by knowing... by getting caught trying to steal the dagger. Mm-hmm. So you are unfortunately going last in turn order.
I'm usually so good at it, too. I'm a criminal.
All right. So one of the bandits that jumped out of the woods has jumped right from behind the tree that Kramus was using to catch his breath on. And so he's right there next to Kramus, and he is going to attack him with his scimitar.
Okay.
So, just as a reminder for everyone of the rules, we're going to roll our D20 to see if this bandit hits Kramus. All right. So then we add his attack modifier of that, and I am going to check Kramus's AC, and it misses. So he jumps behind the tree, but Kramus is a little bit, even though he's poisoned somehow, he's a little wise of what's going on. He was always a little bit suspicious, and he's, with surprising speed, dodges the scimitar slash of the bandit.
Nice.
And that brings us to Kramus's turn, actually, so that's pretty fun. And so he's going to take his mace, his trusty mace that he carries, and swipes back at the bandit.
Okay.
All right. He rolled a dirty 20. So a dirty 20 is when you roll something and then with your modifiers it gets up to 20. It doesn't get you anything, but it's just fun.
It just has a name.
Yeah. So he does hit this bandit.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops. I forgot. Okay. So Kramus is poisoned, like I said.
Yeah.
But that means he also takes disadvantage on his attack rolls and ability checks. And he's also going to be taking some damage every turn. So rolling with advantage and disadvantage. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. But if you roll with advantage, you roll your d20 twice and take the higher number. Rolling with disadvantage, you roll a d20 twice, but you take the lower number.
Got it.
So we got 17 on one, and we got 7 on the other.
Ooh.
But he has a pretty good attack modifier. So that brings his roll to a 10. And, but it just misses the bandit.
So close.
So the bandit leader is now going to attack you.
Bring it on, bitch.
Ooh, I'm going to guess. He rolled a 4. Does that beat your armor class?
My armor class. Yeah, baby, my armor class is 11.
Perfect. So he misses as well.
Yeah.
So he gets distracted by his one bandit totally whiffing it and being like, "Are you kidding me?" And like goes and stabs the cart on accident.
Amazing.
And then that brings us to the second bandit that jumped out on the other side of the road from Crambrus, and he's going to shoot at you again. Or not again. He's going to shoot at you with a light crossbow.
Okay.
Does a 10 hit?
My armor class is 11.
Perfect. It does not hit. So it goes plung right by your head. You notice a bolt, and so you kind of like you look and like make evil eyes at the third bandit.
Yeah, and then I take my dagger. Oh, it's my turn.
It is now your turn in combat.
Can I throw my dagger?
You can. You won't have that dagger anymore to fight with. But you do technically have a range of... What is your throwing range? I believe it's 20 feet is you, and then if you want, you can throw 60 feet with disadvantage. But the bandit's only like, we'll say like 30 feet at max away from you.
Okay. So I want to throw my dagger at the guy who just shot me with a crossbow.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
So you'll roll your d20.
8.
8, and then add your hit modifier, your attack modifier.
So +2.
Great. So 8 plus 2.
10.
Perfect. That unfortunately does not hit.
Fuck.
We've all been rolling terribly.
So now I don't have my dagger. It's just in the woods.
Correct. For your sake, I'll say it pong into the tree.
Okay.
So you don't have to go searching for it.
After this is over, I'm like, I wrestle through the brushes.
Right. And then I did mean to roll 1d4. Oof. All right. That was for Kramus's poison damage. So it's back to Bandit 1, who had struck at Kramus with his scimitar. He's going to try to do it again.
Okay.
And that's going to be a miss.
Nice.
Kramus is going to attack again. They're just going at it with their swords.
Got it.
Well, his mace and his scimitar. So we're going for it again. And that was a critical failure, natural 1. The poison is getting to his mind. He's slowing down. He's not able to hit as much as well. He is slowly going down for the count. This poison's really getting to him. The bandit leader is going to take a strike at you. And he will miss as well.
Nice.
And the bandit 2, let's see if he loaded up his crossbow fast enough. He did.
Perfect.
So
one time you roll well.
I know. So that was a, let's see, that was a 21 to hit. I'm going to say that hits.
Yeah, I'm going to say that as well.
So now I roll a d8. And that's going to be 8 points of damage.
Oh my god. So it takes my HP down?
Yeah.
To 1?
Yeah.
Because he hit me in the heart? Like where? Jesus.
I thought Kramus was going to be doing more for you here.
No, not the poison bitch on my left. Okay, so I'm an elf, right? I'm a druid. Don't I have magic?
You do have spells.
Okay. So I got magic to use.
Yes.
So can I use fairy fire and throw it at the bandit who just hit me with the fucking crossbow?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So let's see. That's actually going to be a roll for me, the bandit. I need to make a dexterity saving throw. I need to beat 12.
Okay.
And let's see what the dexterity is, only +1, so he beats it.
Of course he fucking does.
He does.
So all right. I miss him.
You miss him.
So I'm dead.
Not necessarily.
Okay. So now it goes back to bandit.
It goes to bandit number 1. And he's going to take one more. He's seeing how much Kramers is getting down, and so he's going to try to finish him off. And he hits. He hits.
Kramers.
And so we're going to roll a d6. And he does.
Is my friend dead?
Your friend is knocked unconscious.
Are you not entertained?
This might have been a much harder interaction than I had initially thought.
But this is great, though.
It's okay. The story is going to go on.
Yes.
All right, so you see this bandit take a final blow and slash across Kramersit, and he is just wounded beyond getting up. He, between the poison and this fight, the adrenaline pushing the poison deeper and faster through his system, he falls to the ground. And from there, in this moment, you can see the bandit reach down and tear off an amulet from around Kramer's neck, and he holds it up, dangling from his hand, and he says, "Hey, boss, I got it. Let's get out of here." And from here, the bandit with the short crossbow starts to retreat with the other bandit who just ripped this amulet off and goes deeper into the wood. And the leader, the first merchant you saw, goes, "Pleasure doing business with ya," and starts to leave. At this moment, since he's trying to disengage you from combat, you can take an attack of opportunity if you'd like. You don't have any physical, you don't have a knife or a dagger, any physical weapons on you, I believe. You have your short bow.
Yeah, my short bow.
But that won't do you any good at this moment because you'll actually have disadvantage from being too close to firing from it. So you're going to use an unarmed attack as your attack of opportunity if you want to take it.
What about primal savagery?
Yeah, I don't know if it can necessarily typically be used as an attack of opportunity, but in this moment, I think it'd be really cool story-wise for you to be enraged by your friend being downed.
Yeah.
These bandits kicking your ass, respectively, and seeing them take away this amulet that you believe might be important to Kramers. So let's see. You channel primal. I'm going to read up on the spell real quick.
Okay.
You channel primal magic to cause your teeth or fingernails to sharpen, ready to deliver a corrosive attack. Make a melee spell attack against one creature within 5 feet of you. On attack, the target takes this amount of damage. After you make your attack, your teeth or fingernails return to... Oh, yeah. This will definitely be a great...
a
super cool way to have your attack of opportunity. So it is an instantaneous action. It takes one action. So we are going to roll your spell attack. So go ahead and roll a d20.
Okay. Come on, baby. 12. And you will be adding your spell attack modifier, which, if it is listed there as for your attacks, it should be right there for you. That
right
plus,
next to primal savagery.
Yeah, +4.
Perfect.
16.
So 16, that hits on this guy.
Yeah.
So now you're going to be rolling your D10.
Oh. Okay, no, I rolled a 10?
Yeah.
Okay. 2.
All right, so you just become, describe it yourself. You go ahead and describe it yourself.
I become enraged, and my nails sharpen and my teeth sharpen, and I lunge after the bandit leader and slash at his throat.
Perfect.
Nice.
So he is already like discounting you as an enemy, like a worthy adversary, and but he doesn't expect you to just use your magic and slash at him. So he's like, ah! And he grabs at his throat as you slash him, and you can see, because this is acid damage, you could see it already corroding away a little bit, and that's going to be a deep, recognizable scar.
And we'll use that one for later.
So the bandits run off deep into the woods. The initial bandit cursing you under his breath, but happy that he made off with what he needed to. As the excitement of the fight dies down, you hear the labored breath of Cramorus.
Cramorus, are you okay?
This is where I will rest. This is where my body will lie. The amulet that the bandits stole. You need to retrieve it. It meant the most important to the clergy.
I promise I'll find it for you, Cramorus, and I'll bring it back.
The high priest in Baldur's Gate might be able to help you with locating it. Just promise me. Promise.
The poison takes over his body. The wounds from this fight consume him. And Cramorus is no more.
I promise, dear Cramorus. And then I run off.
Towards Baldur's Gate?
Yeah.
Perfect.
With a whole underscoring behind me.
And that is where we will stop this adventure until next time.
How exciting! How thrilling!
So that I thank you for playing Dungeons and Dragons with me. That was super exciting.
That was awesome.
The adventure only continues from there.
Also infuriating because you're leaving everything to chance.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. There were several times where I was like, in my script that I written for this encounter, it had you like killing the bandits. Cramorus was supposed to be doing a lot better.
Yeah.
But that's just how the dice were rolled, and things had to be adjusted. And shit still hit the fan.
I'm on 1 HP point over here.
I know you're gonna need to go get healed at Baldur's Gate.
I'm sorry, I'm not running away. I'm limping away, pretty much at this point. Jesus.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how you play Dungeons and Dragons.
That's awesome.
The adventure goes on of you going to Baldur's Gate, potentially talking to the High Cleric, then finding out information on where the bandits are lying in the Cloak Wood.
Now it becomes like a 2-person thing. I mean, you could introduce other characters along the way, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I think our next thing is radio shows.
We're gonna start our own actual play.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's how you play Dungeons and Dragons. If you have any questions, there are plenty of resources for you out there on the internet that I listed previously. Also, just DM us. I love talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
He really does, folks.
And like I said earlier, if you are curious about how to create a character, let us know. I can do a video on that. I'll do D&D all day. And thank you, Nick, for finally playing with me. That was amazing.
That was awesome.
You did such a good job jumping into it and diving headfirst.
It was fun. You gotta like shake off your little nerves and just get into it, but it's a good time.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dev.
Thank you. And thanks for listening to part 2 Dungeons and Dragons, everybody.
Yeah, baby.
You can find us and talk to us about Dungeons and Dragons and many other things on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at @WhatDoYouKnow_podcast. And you can also tweet at us on the Twitter at WDYK_podcast. And then listen to other episodes anywhere you listen to podcasts. So like us, subscribe to us, 5-star us right on the back, and
do all the things you know to do. Exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thanks, Dev. Folks, we will. You'll hear from us soon.
Great.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.